And Chris, I'm just going to continue on with you. If you want to give your fine arts update, we'll just stay in the realm of fine arts right now.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And I'm going to let Daniel off the hook. I'll present if he gives me screen sharing. I feel it's like when we were in like elementary school and it was the film projector and you'd be like next and the thing would go off and you go beep. And then I feel like that's where we were. So Daniel, I can share.
I'm so excited for that.
So if you want, I'll be more than happy to.
I just need to give you, do you have permissions? Can you do it?
Yep.
Or do I need to give you
Let's
permission?
see if I can do that. And I'm going to lock the dog. Nah, he's fine now. I'm going to lock him out. Okay.
Put Monty on the screen.
Oh, no, we don't need to see Monty right now. We're fine. So welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you. I just realized I haven't been at a school committee meeting since March of 2019. So it's just been so long. That's when we were getting the Florida trip approved, which unfortunately never happened. But it's so nice to be back with good news and exciting updates. So thank you. I'm going to roll with Kristen's terminology of typical rather than return to normal. I'm going to start, that's going to start trending. I like that because we are getting back to more typical events and fine arts programming, but of course it won't be exactly as families feel as it is return to normal. So I would love to start with what's changing. I would like to look to the future. Everything is almost changing, which is great. Up until March 1st, we weren't allowed to sing in schools at all under any circumstances indoors. So we are able to do that now, which is wonderful. So small groups can sing 6 feet apart. We're doing double masking in Westborough just to be double safe for now. As people gain comfortability and more vaccination is occurring and we see that it's working, we'll be totally fine. But right now we're going to do double masking. We're able to, once we return to in-person learning, have our first full ensemble rehearsals. So we were in the cohort model and instrumentation was mixed, and obviously it's half the band, half the orchestra. So we weren't able to really do that. Now we're able to see our full groups for the first time. So we're very excited about that. Again, with no singing in school, instructional time was limited, and now we're seeing every day with singing in school and full rehearsals. We're going to get back to a more typical schedule. Spacing will be different. CDC guidelines will be enforced. Instrumentalist band will have bell covers and specialized face masks to be worn. They have to be 10 feet apart while playing. And then choruses will be 6 feet apart, masked while singing. And then the orchestra, lucky for them all year, as long as they're doing social distancing with their masks on, it didn't really interfere with their playing, so that will maintain. Public gatherings, maximum capacities are increasing, and how many people are allowed to have join us for events is increasing every day, so that's really beneficial. And the nicer weather, as Brian mentioned, brings about tents and outdoor concerts and outdoor venues, so we're very excited for that as well. So lots of changing. What isn't changing is our commitment to the remote students to maintain their ability to perform in our ensembles remotely. They've been able to do that since September, and that's something that we're going to continue without skipping a beat. They're just going to join us live during those rehearsals as they've been doing all year. So we really value that they get to still be a part of the program, even though they're home. That means that we are going to be doing a bunch of different performing events. So our first one will be a jazz night. As Lisa mentioned at the beginning of the year, the beginning of the meeting, that there was a jazz clinic. We are going to do a culminating experience there. It was funny, 2 weeks ago, this blue box would have been barely anything. And now with the restrictions, it's growing and growing every day, which is wonderful to see. We will be doing a contemporary a cappella program, our Acapalooza, as we call it. That will still be occurring. And then we will be doing a small chamber ensemble concert outdoors, hopefully. We will be doing a modified choral collage with our high school groups. Then we will have a band concert, an orchestra concert. Our theater production company, Center Stage, will be doing an Evening with the Stars, which will be outdoors for 2 nights. We'll have our WAFI senior banquet in May. Again, Mr. WHS, which is a longstanding tradition. We are going to be doing it live, and then what that will look like, again, will depend on maximum occupancies, but we will be doing that live this year as opposed to the episodic, wonderful episodic trial run we did last year, which was great, but we're excited to be back in person. And then, of course, Baccalaureate, which is a very important event, which will be done in tandem, and we'll figure out the logistics with the senior stroll. So again, with attendance, we'll have to be careful with maximum occupancies, what that looks like outdoors, social distancing. Again, when you get 100 kids in band and they have to be 10 feet apart, that could take up the whole football field. So what that looks like and how we plan that with families will be interesting, but we'll make sure that it gets done. And then all of these, for families' comfortability and occupancy, will be either Zoomed or live streamed in conjunction with Westborough TV. So everyone will have access, and we are not charging for any event this year. We think it's important to just get back as a community, get back together, be singing, creating, making music, performing for each other. And, you know, at this point, like, what's $5 a ticket? I would love to see everybody again. So we will not be charging for any of those events. Lots of questions about marching band with the upcoming football season. So I really want to make sure that we have some guidelines here, and I was able to present a little bit of an update on what that looks like. We will be present at all of our home games, all 3 home games, and we will be performing just as you've always experienced during an actual game from the end zone, just as it was last year, pre-pandemic life. This will not be typical, this will be normal. So they will be able to do that. The halftime show will be typical, but not as normal. MIAA has reduced the halftime length just in order to curtail games and make sure everyone's safe and not necessarily socializing and lingering too long. So we will be doing a modified show. It will just be shorter, and obviously with 10 feet apart, end zone to end zone, 70 kids, it's a little harder to do like fancy movements in 3 weeks, but you know, there'll be some modified movements in a modified show. We also have to be careful with our spectators and, again, crowd occupancy. And the band has 70 students and the football team has 35. So we're doubling the team on the field. So it will look a little different than Johanna's wonderful work for spectator participation, but every family will be guaranteed at least entry into 1 game, with seniors getting preference for their senior night on April 9th. So we will find out a way to disseminate tickets and work that lottery better, but everyone will have access to a game. And again, they're also on Westborough TV. So if you don't feel like coming out on a Friday night, if it's a little chilly, you can just turn on the TV and you can watch from there, and that's okay. No other towns are really doing marching bands, I'll be honest with you. So they're not really accepting outside groups to other towns, again, for their own safety, our safety, busing. So we won't be traveling to the away games, but that's not necessarily a Westborough thing. It's just that there's not a lot happening with marching bands and other teams, and they're trying to curtail who they're letting in as outside people as well. But have no fear, marching band will be here, I promise. So that's coming up very soon. I don't want to forget about visual arts. Again, the fine arts department is performing and fine arts. So we will have a spring exhibit just like we've had in the past. It will most likely be online just because we don't want to promote people gathering at a gallery. We used to do it in the high school auditorium lobby, in the high school auditorium or the main lobby. And we just can't, you know, we just can't with the curtailing of crowd sizes. We don't want to just leave it open and guess how many people will show up or preclude people from seeing their kids' work. So we'll do an online gallery, and our remote teacher, Alana Conlon, just got approved from WAFIA for an art projection Zoom grant. So what they're going to do is they're hiring a street artist from New York that we do know, it's not just some random street artist, who works on doing creative art and projecting it on like highway overpasses or skyscrapers, and like just doing this like live kind of art installation. And we're going to do that, and we're actually going to project it on the schools, and then people can drive by and see their kids' artwork projected. It helps remote people who can kind of stay safe and from a distance and don't have to go into a building. And we're hoping to expand that to all of the elementary schools, but that actually just got discussed and approved this week. So we're excited about that. It's never been done before. And WAFIA was nice enough to hopefully we'll be able to purchase all of those projectors and stuff so that we'll be able to use it for the future for all of our events moving forward, which is a really cool idea. I'm really proud of Alana. It was actually her student teacher who just has a passion for this projection idea, and we're letting the student teacher kind of run with it, which is a great experience for her as well. So we're really proud of them for, you know, taking the bull by the horns and coming up with a creative way to exhibit our artwork for our students. I don't want to make it all about high school because there's a lot there, K through 8. So I do want to note that, again, the jazz students did participate in that masterclass, but we also had 30 middle school students accepted into the Junior Districts Festival, which this year is online masterclasses, but it should be noted that they had to upload their own video playing solo and submit it, which is a huge confidence booster for middle schoolers. That's no easy risk there. So they had to submit videos, and we had 30 students accepted out of 37. So that was wonderful. We're super excited. Mill Pond students get to meet their teachers for the first time. It's interesting that Lisa had mentioned kids haven't entered a building in forever, but I was talking to the orchestra directors Val Clemens and Teresa Cleary, who teach 4th grade orchestra, along with Judy Garrett, who's remote. And they were like, we're gonna have to go to the homerooms and pick them up because they have no idea where the music wing is. They've never set foot at Mill Pond before, which is just such an interesting concept to like wrap around. It's going to be April and we're going to like welcome kids to buildings for the first time ever they've never set foot into. So that's interesting. And of course the teachers are like, I've seen them on a screen, I can't wait to meet them in person. So we're excited for that as well. Remote instruction, again, as I mentioned before, will continue without disruption. Our K through 3 ukulele club, it used to be a 3rd grade ukulele club. Our elementary teachers have transformed ukulele club into family music nights, which has been wonderful, well received. Zoom limits at their capacity. And they've been doing like family sing-alongs, like, grab spoons and bang on pots and let's have a drum circle. And they've been having a lot of fun there. Maybe not for their neighbors, but for the families. They've been having a blast. And that may be something that we continue next year because it's just been a great way to see families and get the school community involved in ways that we had not done before, and just kind of get everyone making music. And when we couldn't sing, it was great to do big family sing-alongs on Zoom when you couldn't do them in class. And again, just maintaining safety protocols. Art and music at Mill Pond will remain on the cart just due to the number of students and number of moving parts there. We're going to start that on the cart. Elementary schools have already been in the classroom for some time now, so we're going to maintain that structure. But for families that are concerned about moving too much, with the amount of kids at Mill Pond, we are going to keep teachers into the homerooms on carts for the time being until we feel a little bit more comfortable. So that's important to note. Finally, just before we move forward, I want to take a pause and just thank people because where many towns were cutting their programs and, reducing ensembles to general music appreciation classes or cutting programs altogether, we've maintained a strong program here, which is, again, as I mentioned with Karen Forrest, a real regard for the community and the leadership. I'd like to thank the leadership teams, building principals with their scheduling, Amber Bach and Daniel Mayer, WAFIA, as Lisa mentioned earlier, with their grant funding, Beth Kinski and Kelly White. We've been on the phone pretty much like 5 times a week, just checking in. And Beth has been putting out those wonderful newsletters from WAFIA, kind of detailing what we've been doing during the year. Again, thank you to school committee for all of their hard work. Our students, they came into school knowing they might not play an instrument and they might not sing for a year, but they still came and they're still practicing and they're still working. And I can't be more proud of them and their resiliency and their commitment and passion for what they're doing. David French Music, who's been ordering us puppy pads so kids could play band in the chorus room and, just helping us with all of our needs, helping families if their instruments broke down and they had to quick drive in. And they've been, no pun intended, instrumental in helping us this year. And of course, all the families. And I didn't want to put it in writing necessarily, but I want to just thank the fine arts staff, who some of them had to completely revamp their philosophy and their passion for a whole year. A chorus teacher, when you tell them, oh, by the way, you're not singing anymore, it's like taking their voice away literally. And then just remote teachers planning remote lessons and, learning Zoom and last year just making up art lessons that they could teach remotely with a kid who just had like a pencil and an envelope to write on the back of. I just couldn't be prouder of their, as I called it, forced flexibility and their innovation. And I'm so proud of them as well. So I tried to condense that pretty quickly for you, but that's our update on the future fine arts for the rest of the year. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Again, I moved kind of quick, but I didn't want to take up too much of your time and just kind of highlight some of the great things that we have going on.
Thank you, Chris. That was great. Really good to see, what's been happening and what's going to be happening. Lots of bright spots in the future. And I, just want to echo what you had said about the fine arts staff. They're incredible, and the way that they needed to pivot their instruction and the delivery, and they were still able to reach our students and keep them involved, and kudos to them. And I hope that when we get back to more typical, that it really helps them also gain that passion back for the work that they really truly want to be doing with students. So thank you. I'll open it up to committee members if you have questions for Chris about fine arts. Sarah, do you have something?
I don't really have a question. I feel like you just delivered your Oscar speech. I felt like you were going to get played off the.
I know. I was like, wait. I was like, I'm like you. If you know me, I was like agenda time. I'm like, oh my god, I can't go over the agenda time. I have to stay with it. I'm a very structured person, Sarah. You know me.
Okay, well, you're going to get played off the stage though. No, I think everything's amazing. I'm so glad that everyone can sing and dance and play music together again. I can't wait. Hopefully I can sneak into one of those outdoor shows. I do have an adorable picture of my 5th grader with glasses lined up with different amounts of water in them, banging on the spoons that I took a picture of, who told me that I couldn't send it to anyone or couldn't send it to Daniel Mayer for the website. So I'll send that to you so you can see it.
If I was not precluded, then that means I'm the #1 send. Like, go for it. That's great.
So everyone's done a great job this year with what they were given. So I appreciate you and everyone's efforts. So thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions?
I just had a question about, are there any live ensembles coming from Mill Pond or middle school?
So we're working on middle school. I'll be honest with you. We're working on middle school. Right now, their structure is, because of crowd sizes, they're not meeting as large ensembles. They're just meeting in their little broken up sectionals just to maintain cohort model right now. So we're not rushing in. Again, we're kind of easing and slowing that roll. I know jazz band is planning some stuff, but I don't want to commit the full ensembles yet. Every group will be giving some kind of end of the year culmination, whether it's like a year in review recap video or a live stream. We're working on it. We also know that they haven't met the other kids in their band yet. So we're going to try to see how that kind of rolls and go with it. Our 6th graders, it's funny, it's their 2nd year of instruction, but they've really only had 3 months of like live instruction. So once you get to those upper elementary school grades, again, we're trying to, buck the curve and get them back up to the technique and expectation of where they should be for their grade level. Again, more of like a year in recap. Definitely at Mill Pond, more of like a year in review kind of live stream, collage, montage of like, this is what we've been doing. I can't foresee, honestly, live performances at Mill Pond before the end of the year, just due to the amount of instruction time and getting them comfortable and confident to be playing in front of people instead of their screen. So yeah, that's our plan right now.
So a final question is, as students are signing up for classes for next year,
yep,
I think there is this question of, if I'm not going to be able to sing, or if I'm not going to be able to play, or if it's going to be like it was this year,
right?
Will it be the same? And should I take electives instead, or should I use my time differently? So that's the question I think I'm getting from parents, which is, what's
sure. And I mean, I'll be 100% transparent with you. I knew that we could survive this for a year, but I didn't think we would be able to do it for 2 if there was just really no playing. So right now, I mean, as we're moving forward, what you see at the end of the year, which will be live performances of full ensembles and back in person instruction, is what we're planning on. Like, there's only moving forward at this point. Like, as fastly as the pandemic took things away from us, I feel like flattening the curve in the vaccine is bringing them back just as fast. And it's going to take our heads a little while to wrap around how quickly like we're going to get stuff back, because our brains are still going to be in like pandemic panicky mode. So I'm looking forward to a more typical year next year where kids can sing. And again, as Brian was saying, we can't predict the future. I don't know if it will be with I'm sure it'll be with masks, but I don't know if it'll be 10 feet or 6 feet or indoors, outdoors, but we will not go backwards at this point. So we're planning at least what you see in May and June to be what you see in September, if not a more typical scenario.
Well, thank you for bringing the music back and the theater back, because
we are excited. We are so excited. We're so excited. There were like tears on the first day of chorus. Our singers. We're all very dramatic people in the D wing, and there were like tears when we were able to sing and play again. So it's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Chris. And I'm going to say if there are other questions that come up, we know how to find you. And
absolutely.
And I know Wafi has been so instrumental in
no pun intended.
Hearing their newsletters and all that stuff. So yes, no pun intended, but yes, it's been great to have them. That newsletter has really brought a lot of communication from fine arts out to the community. So that's been great too.
Thank you. Yeah. And then I think the frequently asked questions document that I gave you in advance of the meeting, Amber will be linking in her frequently. Is that right, Amber? Is that what we're going to do? Yeah. So that will be out for the community as well this week. So that, as Sarah said, my Oscar speech will be a little bit more verbose and in-depth. It'll be the full unedited version of all of the things that have been asked about the community in the last few weeks. So that'll be out to the public.
Yeah, we appreciate the level of detail. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was nice seeing everybody again and meeting you for the first time. Bye-bye.
Bye, Chris.